All right. Well, thank you, Tolu. Thank you all for being here. So my name is Shane Hanlon. I work for AGU, the American Geophysical Union, where I'm a program manager there within their Sharing Science program. And just a quick background. So for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we were a big Earth and Space Science Society, 60,000 plus members, a bunch of journals. Usually have a giant conference every year. This year, for obvious reasons, it's going to look a smidge different. What I do within AGU is I work for the Sharing Science program. Our whole goal is to help scientists communicate more effectively. So we are scientists who help other scientists talk to non-scientists, essentially. We do this through a whole slew of different ways. We do kind of our bread and butter, our workshops and webinars, but we have an increasing amount of online resources, a very active social media presence. You can go to our website, all sorts of things. But one thing we also have is the Sharing Science community, which is why I am here today. And I was a CEFP fellow last year, right? It's 29th. Yeah, time has no meaning. I was a CFP fellow last year, and specifically because of the Sharing Science community. So what the Sharing Science community is basically a group of people. They don't have to be AGU members. They don't even have to be scientists, but folks who are interested in communicating science. But what it started as, before I even got there, I've been there about 5 years now. My boss and current colleague, Olivia, she started it a little bit before then. And it was originally this expert outreach network. And basically what it was is that AGU needed experts on specific topics like natural hazards, so hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. So when we got media inquiries, we could go then to our members to ask them for favors, essentially ask them to get in touch with the media and ask. That's exactly what it was. I got there a couple years after this outreach network. We changed the name to Sharing Science. It was called something different. It became the Sharing Science Network. And at that point, we were still just kind of in our infancy. We started doing these communication workshops and webinars, but it was still kind of very one-directional, unidirectional. It was either us asking members for their assistance, again, for these media inquiries, or us pushing out information to them. We started up a newsletter, but there really wasn't much dialogue. 3-ish years ago, I want to say, AGU adopted an online communication platform. So for those of you who are familiar with Higher Logic, we have a Higher Logic platform that's called AGU Connect. And it is, it's an online message board, essentially. It has a little bit more functionality than that, but it's that. We didn't really, I mean, this as an AGU as a whole, and not to be critical, but we picked up the technology before figuring out what to do with it. It seemed like a good idea to have a technology, have a place where our 60,000 plus members could interact online outside of the one time a year they all get, or I guess a third of them get together at our annual meeting. Within that larger platform, we created a Sharing Science group when we changed the name again to the Sharing Science community. And yes, these are just name changes, but they're more than that. We try to make them actually like think about what we wanted to get out of it. And so we have now the Sharing Science community online on the AGU Connect platform. And I found that I never heard the phrase community manager before I actually saw the solicitation for the CEFP through different various networks. And I remember reading it and thinking, oh, I'm a community manager. Like this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out what to do with this community because it operates, or at least at that time, it operated as a fancy message board. It was a listserv on a platform. So came to the CEFP fellowship to learn exactly how to get out of that unidirectional communication and actually turn it into a community where people talk to each other. And so this is like, we have this newsletter, which was one directional thing. And then we have AGU Connect, which you see the thing we're scrolling through. And it's fine, but it's still a lot of unidirectional. People basically were posting a lot of announcements, not a ton of driving engagement, driving discussion, that type of thing. So I wanted to figure out how to do that. We went in the wrong order with everything. We had the tech, but we didn't have the content. And when I came to CEFP, one thing that really stuck with me was this idea of life cycles. And this is a bunch of different places. But this idea, okay, you have these different stages: inception, establishment, maturity, mitosis. They can call them different things, but this is the idea. And I realized that even though we had been around for a few years, we were very much still in the inception stage. It's one directional. We were throwing information at our members, hoping something would stick and maybe they would come back to us. The community wasn't in a really great place feeling like a community. It was a group of people that never actually interacted. We didn't want that. So even thinking about maturity, this idea that they wouldn't need me anymore, or like like that just wasn't something I could even fathom. So yeah, I realized very quickly, even though we were around for a while, we were at this inception stage and I wanted to get to maturity. And I had kind of an issue thinking about this very strict, like inception, establishment, maturity, mitosis thing, but it was the best model that I could come up with, or the best model that I had seen at the time. And so I worked with it. And ways that I started thinking about how to be a better community manager, make better community, was things that I thought we had in place, but just didn't. Like, we didn't have an onboarding process. So if folks came in, we had no idea, like they had no idea what this thing was. They were automatically signed up for this online platform and had no guidance. We weren't actively recruiting different people to come in, people we thought would be these really great like ambassadors, or thinking about I love the champions almost, thinking about people who could really drive conversation. We didn't really think about what's the value of this platform, because a lot of our stuff's online for everyone to read, to partake in. So why come to the community if they're not getting discussion out of it? Like, what else is there? I mentioned ambassadors, and also just like buy-in from staff. I was the person driving this. I was the only person really driving this. I saw value in this. My boss saw value in this, but there are two of us in a company of 150 maybe. So I was really trying to work with that. So we figured out the onboarding, the recruitment, and this kind of connect specific materials. And I started getting ambassadors, which was so exciting, getting people to kind of go in behind the scenes, drive conversation, drive engagement. And then it failed. And that's a time thing, frankly. It was a capacity. And I think part of it, the reason why I failed too, is because I was the one driving this and we didn't really have this buy-in from staff. Not that they don't think the community is important. That's not true at all. It's just matching the desires that we have at HEU for thinking about what a community of Earth and space scientists look like, and actually how to act upon that. So when I was talking to Lou and Katie and seeing like the model that they had developed, it got me to rethink this idea of community. And honestly, I haven't thought a ton about community in the past 6 months with everything else going on, and it just has been a diminished part of my job. But thinking about this more now, I've gotten kind of excited, especially like in the past couple of weeks, because thinking about this life cycle model, this is a good model, but was it the best model? And I don't think so, because in no world would I ever want mitosis. Like, that's not what we're driving for us. Like, we don't want to, everything's already broken up. We went backwards. We started off with all of these broken up sections instead of starting with one section and then having kind of organic breakup. And even what does maturity look like for us? Because it will never be, like, we will always be driving the ship. It will always be AGU, it will always be sharing science, specifically driving this part of the ship. And so when I saw this, talking to Lou and Katie, this matches with what I've been thinking, but not been able to put into words or into description. Because while admittedly, our HU Online Connect, our HU Connect community is still probably in this convey, consume, and a little bit into the contribute phase. I wish it was farther along, but I can at least start thinking about things in a different way. Like, I love this idea of we're trying to be more crowdsourced. We will always be putting out information. It will always be coming from us, but it shouldn't solely be coming from us. And I also realized that I've put so much pressure on myself and AGU and sharing science to make AGU Connect work. And it should work, and hopefully it will work. But that's not the only thing that we do, especially in sharing science. We do all these different things. And different aspects of the model match up with different things that we do. So with AGU Connect, this online platform, which is supposed to be the community thing, right? Yes, we are still in these early stages, but we do all these different other things. We do workshops where we are teaching scientists how to communicate, yes, but we learn a lot from the scientists we're talking to. We learn things that we never would have thought about, thinking about different people's backgrounds, thinking about their professions, the people they interact with. So they are in a sense teaching us as well. And we've started working together to craft better workshops. And we have this really robust online Twitter, specifically Twitter presence, which is a big part of my job, the social media environment. And that runs the gamut from throwing things out there to organically coming up with collaborations and discussions and all sorts of like forming relationships with people I never would have thought possible. And I've never thought about this way. I've always been so focused on this, on the Connect, on the online platform, which is still what I want to put a lot of my effort into, but that's not it. And so this has been really eye-opening, like not to be hokey, but it has been. I've been able to think about this in a way I never have before. And we're seeing progress. And so it's not just like things have been bad, things are okay now. There is a way forward, and this new model is especially helping with that. But even small things, we've redone our Connect to make it more visually appealing. I understand we need content and tech, but the tech's getting better. So we have all these different modules. We've been doing these webinars where outside of the webinars, we add all this silly content that's really informative. So I do TikTok videos about science communication with my dog, and we do animations and infographics and different things. So the platform itself has become more engaging. And the most exciting thing is that AGU, and this is not, like this is public information, but AGU has developed a new strategic plan. We released it this year, and we've done a lot of thought and effort, and now we're trying to implement this thing. But one of the goals is this catalog discovery and solutions to scientific and societal changes. But the important thing, this highlight down here, is evolve the AGU membership to affiliation model to align with new vision, mission, and goals. Essentially, it's how do we create a sense of community with new members. And I am part of the group trying to figure that out. And I'm really, really making a push to kind of put action to the words that we're saying. And I'm not, again, I love AGU. I think we are doing a lot of really great things. This is not an issue unique to us, but we're at a really great time right now to rethink a lot of the things we've been doing and actually implement some change to hopefully put more emphasis on actually making community mean something. And a very small part of that is I'm trying to hire a freaking community manager. So we'll see if that happens, but that would be quite lovely. So that's just kind of where we're at. Thank you for listening to my spiel. And if there's time for questions, I'm happy to take them. And otherwise, yeah, thank you very much.